Fred Hampton leftists on the panel today. Of course, we have Nick, we have RJ, we have Rome, and we have JB. But today we also have a special guest joining us, filling in for Jackie. Her name is Sky Daddy. How you doing, Sky Daddy?
Doing good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing good.
Awesome. All right. First thing is our topic today, hero worship and building a movement. But before we get into the topic, also wanted to give a shout out to our Patreon. Make sure you go to patreon.com and subscribe, become a Fred Hampton leftist, become a member. What we're doing it on a purely volunteer basis, but we do need the funding so that we can keep this going, this content coming to you. Before we also get into our topic, we do want to touch upon some of the latest shootings and killings that has been happening. Dante Wright. I'm going to go ahead and pass it to JB to just kind of set the groundwork, set the landscape for the latest shootings that's happening.
Okay, so here on, I'm looking on Twitter right now from AJ Plus. They actually give out a tweet talks about, it says Chicago is releasing body cam video of the police killing of Adam Toledo, who was a 13-year-old boy. Police claimed that there was an armed confrontation and shot him in the chest. The mayor said that she saw no evidence whatsoever that Toledo shot at police. And it shows the picture of Toledo as a young 13-year-old boy. And they just released body cam footage. And it was released at 2:30 today, the footage for it. So there was actually some comments by Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She says she calls for peace as officials release footage of the police shooting of 13-year-old Adam Toledo. My question to Mrs. Lightfoot is that when is she going to start calling for peace from the police force, which she has command over, from killing people, instead of trying to call for peace from the citizens? Because this is absolutely asinine at the fact that a 13-year-old boy, who was unarmed, by the way, was shot by police.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the sighing. It's just another person just shot down, another young male shot down, person of color shot down, murdered by police, and it's just completely unnecessary. And I just think that if you said this is the Mayor Lightfoot or whatever her name is, if you have to preface the video by saying remain calm, you know that shit is egregious. Like if you have to say, oh, everybody remain calm before we show you this footage, you know it's egregious. So if you know it's egregious, then that's what you have to, set the groundwork for. How swift is justice going to come?
I don't know if you guys see the screen that I'm sharing here. My good friend Savvy, she really good on these issues of police violence. Since we're speaking on Adam Toledo, you can see this picture. Can you guys see what I'm sharing on the screen here?
I see you.
You haven't shared anything.
It says supposed to be sharing. Is it not working? Wonder if they can see it. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Everything, but go ahead.
Either way, I'm showing the picture of how they have Adam Toledo. There's a clear picture of how he had no gun in his hand. I'm not sure why he's not sharing. That's the picture I'm trying to show right now. But pretty much that's what I wanted to bring up. And there was just another good comment. I'll pass it right back to CJ or JB because it just once again brings up issues that we already discussed. And a good comment from Gritty Get Liddy. It's a reminder: cops get away with literal murder every day. They only have a 1% chance of being charged. Yeah. Only a 0.3% chance of being convicted. So this is the police state that we are discussing. That's why bringing up these facts are very relevant when we're discussing these cases as well. But I'll toss it right back to either CJ or JB if you guys want to chime in.
Yeah, I mean, and this just on top of, just on the heels of the murder of Dante Wright and the same circumstances around his killing. It's just it's amazing to me how the police force is allowed to any mistakes when it comes to the lives of people of color.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed to make mistakes. They're allowed to, oh, that was a slip up. You know what I mean? Like that was mistaken identity, like with Breonna Taylor, or false, whatever the case may be. Like you're the police, you're law enforcement. You have zero room for error. That's how I look at it. You have zero room for error. Because go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wish the share screen was working, because it show how there are no margins of error for black men and people of color, because people need to remember that indigenous people are murdered by the police at an insanely high rate as well. And I want to bring this up. I don't think the screen share is working though, but this article, and I may cover it individually so I can break down even more, but it said these videos show where violent white men resisted arrest and fighting cops, but they wasn't shot. So I'll put that article in the comments, but I just want to bring it up because that's exactly what we are discussing here. I'll toss it right back to CJ.
Well, I mean, I want to open it up to everybody. In the chat. Let me go ahead and say this. I think what we're seeing when you bring up those videos about white men resisting arrest is that the system sees people of color resisting as, how dare you, like this is law enforcement, this is your white masters, how dare you defy us in any way, even like with Blake, who was Jacob Blake, who was walking away. Like it's almost they feel disrespected that you're doing that, to the point is like, we're allowing you to live in our white supremacy society, so you better just behave or else. And that to me is the difference between white people doing this and people of color. I'll go ahead and toss it to Sky Daddy. What are your thoughts on this?
Honestly, I think a lot of this comes down to propaganda, and also the fact that it's really not likely that people who aren't in the community to police it fairly. I always think it's crazy that people are not for abolishing the police, because they're always like, well, who's going to protect our community? Like, the protectors and the men and the women who are protectors in the community. If you have to lay your head someplace, you're going to think twice before you pull a trigger on someone who's a little agitated, because you have to stay there. Also, a lot of people are in resistance. I mean, this happens all the time. I had a friend who just died probably in the last 6 months from the police. And it was really the other friends, I had white rain friends who were friends with this person as well. And they just started realizing that this was a real issue. So this is happening all the time, and it's just going to be a circle of another death, and then them keep agitating us with the news. But nothing's ever going to really happen until we address the problem of racial inequality is pushed by the media. If I look on her feed and Instagram, it's a whole bunch of police getting attacked. They'll find the worst things where Black people are actually resisting arrest, and they'll say, oh, well, this is why this is happening. And on my feed, all I see is Black people dying and police doing fucked up shit, which is, in my opinion, closer to the truth, let's be honest. So to me, I'm just ready for some solid action, some solid like boycotting. Anyone who like propaganda shows, any TV network that engages in propaganda, I'm not fucking with it. I'm done with that shit. Any corporations that donate to police departments, I'm done with it. I'm not fucking with that shit. Like, I really think I'm just so tired of the constant revolval of dead Black men and dead Black women, and then, not trying to point the thing at liberals, but then liberals doing all this performative shit and nothing fucking happens. It's just
Hell yeah.
Go
get
ahead.
Roman here. I want to get Roman. I want to get Rome thoughts as well, and then we bring Skydaddy back in because I love that rant. We are exactly on the same wavelength when it comes to our bill.
Just rewind that question back to me in full before I go off of what Scott was talking about, because I was digging what she was talking about.
CJ, you want me to be in the question, Rome?
Yeah, the original topic.
Well, I was just talking about the two different or the latest shootings. I'm not even gonna say two different because there's a lot of shootings with police lately, but the two latest shootings, and really the question is like she's saying, it's a frustration of this keeps happening. something needs to be done. Our government is not going to do anything. So what do we do?
See, the best thing we do right now as people, you know, a lot of people, like I was just having a conversation with my baby mother's brother, and he was saying we was talking about going to war about this. You know, what will happen if the people actually do stand up, you know. And I was telling him, you know, they're going to stand down if it's too many of us, because you got to look at it like this. If it's only a handful of us out there, they are going to come and attack us. They are going to gas us. They're going to do whatever. But let's say half of the state came out. First of all, they don't have enough police departments to even conquer those many people. And, you know, and you got to look at those tax dollars, you know. So it's not about, like I said, they don't want you dead. They want you hanging on by a thread. So if we really want, you know, to really dismantle all this shit, like we can really just travel around as black people as a whole and travel around other cities and other states and get people to rally together and shit like that. And get hundreds of thousands of black people that live in these cities, you know, not just 500 people come out to a protest. Oh yeah, that's cake. They eating that all day. 5,000, 500,000, you know, like in the city of Detroit, we 86% black up here. So imagine the half of the city coming out here for a protest or a strike or whatever. They're not going to be able to combat us. But one of them we're gonna have to break up the police unions for one, because we can sit here and yell and bitch about what should be law, but until their union is broken up, until nobody's paying for their trials and shit like that, then we're gonna have this fucking problem. And then we're still gonna have a problem with the hothead cops who think just because you got a badge, you get away with shit. I personally say, you know, just treat them like flies. You know, if you got to get rid of the whole thing, treat them like the bee, like a hornet's nest. You can't get rid of one of them. You got to get rid of all. And if that motherfucker sting your family member and have a allergic reaction, you know, you got to get rid of that motherfucking the nest. But yep. Break up the police unions and kill their. No, I'm playing like y'all niggas. I knew he was gonna say. No, but that's what I say.
What do you think, JV? What are your thoughts on this?
You know, I get annoyed because I'm going to have another talk with my nephew about this. He's 16 years old. Duante Wright, he is about the same complexion as my nephew. And it made me think of my nephew when I saw him. And so my nephew's not a small little tiny guy. My nephew's taller than me. Okay. The kid is about 6'1", and he is, you know, a very chill, happy-go-lucky guy. But at the same time, the police don't care about that. Only thing they see is this, and they see this as a weapon. That's all they see. And the thing is that they've seen this as a weapon ever since its inception as being police officers. From the time they were slave catchers, their directive has never changed. It is always to catch the slaves. They don't see us as anything else but that. And they've always seen us as slaves since they were created hundreds of some odd years ago. So my thing is that yes, we need to defund the police and the road to abolition, because we have to get rid of them through legal means, of course, or through public pressure means, I should say, before they kill us, before they kill more of us, because this is. I'm tired. I am tired because I'm tired of always looking over my shoulder. I do not want my nieces and nephews to look over their shoulder. I don't want my brothers to look over their shoulder. My brother was subject to police brutality. Okay? Thank God it was just a taser. But my brother was subject to police brutality. So, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. And for, you know, for the many people out there that are part of the right wing who are all pro police, let me tell you, if you guys step out of line and if you're not part of the elite, as you guys like to call them, guess what? They're going to come after you too. It may not be now, but it'll definitely be later. And the thing is that you're going to realize that we are correct in this position.
The right wing that are for the police, I openly mock now. You lost your entire rhetoric. The
Exactly.
their entire rhetoric. I'm gonna pass it to Sky Daddy here, right when I get done. I want to get her thoughts on this too, because their entire rhetoric was, "Don't tread on me. I believe in small government. I believe in liberty." But then they support this fascist police state that is literally slashing people's tires last night. They don't believe in any sort of opposition towards the government, because that's your stance if you are taking the side of the police or the side of the protesters, what a lot of right wingers have done. So you don't get to call me a big government socialist anymore. You lost that. You lost all right to do that, because I had someone do that before, and I'm like, bro, you a bootlicker who believe in giant police budgets and giant military budgets. They had nothing to say. They can't say anything when you call them out on being fraudulent. If you're a libertarian, right wing or left wing, and you don't support the defund the police movement, you are a fraud. You're just a fan of the ideology. You're a fan. You don't actually adhere to it. You just think it sounds cool. You probably heard one of these libertarian radio hosts like, "Oh, this dude's pretty cool." And once again, you're a fan of the ideology. You're not actually a libertarian. You're just another big government. Actually, you're a neoliberal. Like, the funny thing is, a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of Republicans, they don't even understand. They don't even know they're actually neoliberals. What they say they represent is not what they actually like. They don't believe in small government. They don't believe in all these like family values. Because if you actually believe in family values, you be for actual like 4-day work week, so people can actually see their family. You be for living wages, where you be for Medicare for all. You be for people actually having health care in your family. So these people are fraud. That's kind of how I break it down to them. What's your thoughts, Sky Daddy? How do you usually approach these fraudulent right wingers, or anything you want to add on to that?
Love what you said. One thing that I've learned is, I wish it wasn't. I wish we can all just present logic and have objective logic, because we all get different information. That's just the reality of it. I know that because I engage with most leftist material, the algorithm will send me back most leftist material. And I know that the mainstream media sends different things out with different outlets to, race bait and have these problems. But at the end of the day, as much as I wish we can all have the same information and go off logic, people are ran off public opinion. And that's why propaganda is the biggest threat that we have right now, is because people ran off public opinion. So I shame these motherfuckers. Like, if you want to be like, government protect me, like, you don't get to be all macho, masculine. Oh, if you want to back the blue, like, you're
you're for a nanny state.
Exactly.
And they are so intellectually inconsistent, they can actually hold their own against liberals, because they are too. So whenever I attack them for their ideology, they'll say something like, "Oh, well, you support Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. How can you talk?" I'm like, "No, fuck them too." And then they're like, "Oh, what?" And then I'm like, "Okay, now let me explain to you why Donald Trump is like Barack Obama." And then their head blows from there. That's why we are able to talk to right wingers, because they don't have any leverage on us. If you're a liberal and you want to call them out for their, like, you could be right when you call them out when they've been a hypocrite, but then they just call you out for being a hypocrite, and it's a wash. So that's why they always struggle with that. What's your thoughts?
No, that's a fantastic point that I never thought of. Actually, that's the reason on both sides, because we're able to do that with both sides. Like, for a liberal, we'll point out Barack Obama is this, and then we'll also point out, the latest liberal conservative favorite, George W. Bush is that too. And it works on both sides, but I'm gonna pull this back in to refocus the topic and sort of bring to an end.
Sorry, let's get RJ into RJ in this one too. But go ahead, CJ. But we did get RJ in on the next topic.
So sort of, bring in our final comments about just the police shootings, police killings, what's being done about it, and why do they keep happening? And if it was just happenstance, where are the instances of it happening to white people? Like, if it's just happenstance, give me the instances where there's white people that this is happening to. where white people are being shot because they have, you know, a water gun, or white 13-year-olds are being shot unarmed on video, where white people are walking away from police officers and their kids in their car, and then he's shot and paralyzed. Give me those examples of it happening to white people. That's why I don't understand how much evidence do you need to see? How many bodies do you need to see before you say, okay, why can't you say I'm for law enforcement, but I'm against that? Like, why can't it be both? I don't see them as exclusive. Like, I'm not for law enforcement, but I'm saying for those who are for law enforcement, why can't you be for them, but say, I am for them, but I'm not for that. I'm not for killing people. I'm not for killing people for counterfeit things. I'm not for doing that. Like, it's okay to do that. So I'll throw it to RJ.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this entire situation with, killing our black people is very concerning. I mean, most of the controversy happened even under the Obama administration. No one wants to even talk about that. And, I've been telling my family, the killing of black people in general is just like trophy deer hunting. You see black man shoot black man, see black women shoot them. The only thing they're not doing is taking us home and eating us. So it's just very depressing right now, especially watching the trial that's happening right now. Most people don't know that the Trayvon Martin trial, or it's actually called the George Zimmerman trial. It lasted for 2 days, while this trial is 2 weeks, and it's been very traumatic based on all the body cam footage we've seen, the statements, the testimony, the defense trying to say that carbon monoxide is what killed George Floyd, not the actual asphyxiation from the cop being on his neck. So it's very, 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 very traumatic and concerning with everything that's going on.
Yeah, the point is, whenever you have even white people that want to say stuff like, "Oh, you know, white people are killed by the police as well." There's a few ways you can approach this. You can approach it by breaking down the statistics and proving them wrong on the fact that we are targeted the most. But I also like to take this approach when fighting right wingers as well. I'm like, okay, why don't you guys care then, you bootlicker? I'm for cops killing everyone. I didn't say I just don't want cops to kill black people. I said I don't want cops to kill anyone. So when they bring up, oh, it's not just black people getting killed by cops, it's white people getting killed by cops too. And I'm like, okay, do something about it then. Like, how's that an argument against what I'm saying? That never make any sense to me.
Because they're expecting you to just be on a tribal side. They don't understand that that's not you. They're expecting you to have that democratic response of just is Democrats versus Republicans. But is there anyone who wanted any comments on this before we move to the original topic for the episode? Any last comments?
Nope, proceed.
All right, so moving on to the actual planned topic for this episode. The first one being hero worship, and what I define as hero worship is worshiping a politician regardless whether they do good things or bad, and having the feeling or actually going out on social media, feeling the need to defend said so it's not it's like it's coupled together, like,
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man. I'm reading the comments, man.
if you talk about they personally get offended if you talk about those things. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with Sky Daddy, because I think this is one of the topics you wanted to talk about. What are your thoughts on hero worship and how it's affecting the left?
Hero worship has, in my opinion, almost decimated the majority of the left. I never once, if you go through any of my tweets from the beginning of existence, I've never said one good thing about a politician or celebrity. Never once. Like, never once. Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, there are no good politicians. There are no politicians worth worshiping. I mean, all the politicians, they know what's happening. They're not done, So for me, a political movement that involves relying on politicians is done. Like, and we might as well be liberals at this point. Without direct action, there's nothing. And I just think the majority of at least Twitter leftists are politician worshippers. They're there to politically larp. I thought leftists were anti-authoritarians. I figured out abruptly the majority of them are not. And so for me, I really don't know until we start making leaders within the working class. I don't think we have an actual movement. We have a distraction because politicians are just an illusion of help. They don't want people looking towards their local leaders. They don't want people who have a good knowledge and been studying this for years to get the power. And a lot of our local leaders are too humble, humble in the fact of humility is important, but we don't want to put ourselves up as authority figures and things of that nature. And a lot of people are weird about taking money, but when you do this all the time, and you're constantly researching, you're constantly trying to fight propaganda, you don't have any time for anything else. So you end up feeling stressed out, and people don't want to market enough. They don't want to say, hey guys, I authentically give a fuck, but I also need to eat. And I also need money to do these things. And the fucking AOC, Bernie, these motherfuckers are a fundraising machine. And they take that money and they do nothing with it. They funnel it to fucking a movement that's not for us. But the humble people who actually care and are capable of being leaders, they're too uncomfortable with ever being seen as one of those type of people to repeatedly put out, hey, we got to donate, because that's just a part of it. At the end of the day, none of us are rich. None of us have corporate backers or anything of that nature. That's a very important to create leaders that are comfortable and have the mental space, because they're not trying to survive, to do more things. Politicians, when they're taking millions of dollars, AOC, Bernie, they're taking millions of dollars from people who think they care, from people who they're not giving, hey, here's money so you can go and increase the police budget, or here's money so you can give it to the fucking liberals. They're not thinking that, so this money is going to waste, and that's all they're doing. They're funneling money that real leaders in the community would use for the community, and they're stealing that shit. So for me, putting any of these people up who aren't going to pass legislation is very counterproductive. It's literally a cancer. And unfortunately, it's been going on so long, it seems like the majority of leftists still believe in the political process, and they're elevating these political candidates to get the money that local leaders are too scared to be seen as a grifter or something like that, to repeatedly remind people, hey, for us to do this movement, we need money and shit. And that's, I would think, is a huge problem in the left, to be honest.
Excuse me, Scott. Hey, stop it, y'all. I see y'all niggas. Stop reading them damn comments. I see y'all niggas start pay attention, man. Cause boot this motherfucker, bro. I don't know what the fuck this problem is, man.
You mean the evangelical in the comments right now?
Yeah,
I thought he was cracking me up, and I'm just let them debate with them.
No, because I see Jay. I see Jay. You know what I'm saying? I see RJ and I see CJ looking at the comments. All these niggas got different reactions.
My comments are turned off. Like they're not even.
I'm looking like, okay, but yeah.
I'm not used to getting evangelicals in my comments. I get like salty libs every once in a while, but evangelicals is a new one.
YouTube. Let me check.
But listen, let's get back. Yeah, let's get back to the topic, and bring in JB for your response to this. But what do you think of what Sky Daddy is saying about hero worship, and whether or not we should be doing it whatsoever? And is it hurting the leftist movement?
Yes. The deification of our politicians is detrimental to us, because then it causes people to follow these deities, even if they are wrong in certain takes or certain policies, because then we start to make excuses for them. Case in point, last night when Bernie Sanders actually threw Rashida Tlaib under the bus, when Rashida Tlaib accurately stated about police as being basically unnecessary because they are the ones who are administering violence against citizens. So therefore, by Bernie Sanders doing that, now you're going to have a bunch of Bernie Sanders stands And don't get me wrong, I like Bernie Sanders and I like his policies and I respect what he did. But this he's wrong about, as well as many other things that he's done, especially since he dropped out. But I digress. But for him to do that also means you're going to have other people who consider themselves to be on the left who are going to also agree with the whole, oh, just uh, let's just reform the police instead because police abolition is too far. And so the thing is that this deification is basically tearing the left apart because you know there's a deification on in the conservative side. There's a deification on the liberal side, and what they're trying to do is do a deification on the left side. The thing is that one of the things that made the left so distinguished was the fact that we didn't have an actual deification. We had major respect among people who led the left, but we didn't look at them like they were all the end all be all. And the problem is that you have now some of them that are starting to see it because they feel like they have no direction, nowhere to go.
Absolutely, and I'll also bring in RJ for your opinion on this. What are your thoughts on just in general hero worshiping? Is it detrimental to a movement? Is it counterproductive? Is it not? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's pretty concerning. I mean, the left, well, some factions of the left are really becoming what we hate most about liberals. The constant deity, like JB just said, giving them money even though they don't do it, things that you say they're going to do. The constant making excuses for their politicians when they capitulate and lie to you and not do what they said. And just to repeat what JB said about that Bernie video, about Bernie effectively throwing Rashida Tlaib under the bus when she finally gets it right, especially on a big issue like that about police abolition. She's for it. Bernie says, "Hey, I don't agree. I'm a reformist." And that's pretty concerning. I mean, if you watch that entire video, like Bernie is not distinguishing himself from a standard Democrat. So he's basically sheep herding many of his Bernie-crats right with him back into the Democratic Party, which is heavily concerning. And Bernie himself on the left, like he's the only person that could really consolidate all factions of the left around him. But ever since he dropped out, he still has a couple of sycophants, and we all know who they are on the left, who feel that, hey, we only could do things politically if we get the express permission from Bernie and the squad. So by Bernie taking the reformist, less radical position, that is now the center for the left. So if you go farther to the left, then your fellow comrade, then you're deemed as crazy, reckless, and excessive. And why aren't you doing what Bernie is trying to do? And that type of mentality is terrible for the left. We should always go to the left. And I'm tired of this attitude in the left in general is you hate someone who outlefts you and you're jealous of someone who outlefts you. Like I have many friends who are on different factions of the left who disagree with me about issues. We have conversations. I embrace it. Rome tells me I'm wrong a lot. Jackie tells me I'm wrong a lot. JB, a
We
lot of
all
other
bust each other
friends. So I
balls on
embrace
that.
it because we should all evolve about that. And overall, I do believe hero worship is bad. I mean, for me to say that, I know some people are saying, "Oh, but you're simping for Rashida Tlaib right now." Yeah, that's bad too. I have to stop myself from doing that. So just so I don't seem like a hypocrite, I admit it. I've been doing that the last 2 days. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and
Absolutely. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I agree with RJ said because I always make a joke. I'm pretty much always the farthest right person I usually have on my shows. Like on my shows, I usually just surround myself with a bunch of communists. And my point I always want to tell progressives, when there are a lot of them now who they do nothing but punch left. If you cut the Overton window off at your left, how are you different from a liberal who does the same thing to you? How are you different from Nancy Pelosi who she trashed the squad all the time? AOC, even though they're not a threat to the party, but if you punching left, how are you any different from a shitlib, in my opinion? And I said, hero worship is probably one of the biggest problems that we are dealing with right now. Especially, I love how you guys mentioned propaganda, and I like how RJ talk about how these politicians get people back to the center and they punch people to the left. I missed some of what he said, so I hope I don't double up with what he said earlier. But another reason why I think it's a big problem is there's a faction on the left. Like, do you ever see these people talk about foreign policy? Like the people who spend all their time attacking left-wing podcasters all day. I talk about foreign policy. I cover foreign policy, the police state violence. These are important left-wing issues. Do you ever see these people cover these issues? Like the people who stand AOC, the people who attack anyone who criticizes Democratic Party. I've been following this for the last year or two. And it's a consistent pattern I've seen. The people who are more likely to worship politicians and the same people who attack people who for challenging politicians. These are the same people who never ever discuss foreign policies. These are the same people who don't bring up the fact that we bombed Syria. These are the same people who don't bring up the fact that we have sanctions that are starving Venezuelan people. The fact that we have sanctions in Yemen going on right now. That we have a president that's ramping up tensions with Russia and nuclear power. Like, these are the kind of topics they never talk about. Because I know, because my ass is a stalker. Whenever I see you talk shit about me, I will look at your timeline. And whenever I see you do that, I never see them talk about policy. And these are the people that are more likely to worship politicians. So why don't they talk about their policy? It goes back to the politicians. I quote Sky Daddy on Twitter. I love what she said when she said, "You never see me say anything nice about politicians because there's no such thing as a good politician." I'm not ever gonna tone police anyone when it comes to politicians. I think these people, they're big boys. They make a lot of money. They can handle the criticism. Because the problem is, if you don't think we have legitimate criticism on Bernie Sanders and AOC in the squad, are you telling me that Julian Assange is an important issue? Are you telling me the issue of war and U.S. imperialism is an important issue? Now, this is why hero worship is a bad thing, because what Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the squad and the progressive politicians are doing, and that's why I don't even get mad when RJ praised Rashida for standing up for police abolition, because I think that is very important, because what she's doing is she's dragging the Overton window to the left. So I'm like, yeah, I'm glad that she did that. Hell yeah. I think she could have worked on her framing on that, because I think you got to discuss how we are defunding the police, and that's a road to abolition. But I don't know, and that's not a big deal. It's just good that she's moving the window to the left. But what Bernie Sanders and the squad do, they stay silent on important issues, like Joe Biden bombing Syria, just like Joe Biden funding genocide in Yemen. And also, guess what else they don't talk about no more? Why is healthcare not a big deal no more? Joe Biden ran on a policy, huh? He ran on. Joe Biden ran on a public option, which is already a compromise of a compromise. We discussed where we stand on this issue. We think we should have nationalized health care. So Medicare for all is already a compromise. So then public option is trash, which I explained that before. So that's a compromise of a compromise that Joe Biden broke. So he broke what we already consider a joke policy, where he getting Cobra. So why don't Bernie Sanders and squad call him out on that every day? There's articles in the fucking, so I'll pass it here, so I'm going on one of my goddamn rants. But there was an article. They are literally laughing at the progressive members in Washington, and I trying to remember. I think it was Washington Post, but I may be calling the wrong paper. But they ran an article how the progressives, they was actually wrong about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is actually pretty economically left right now, and I've seen a lot of people who I respect say that, and that's part of Bernie Sanders and squad not calling him out for him being an economic right winger. Like, he's supporting the same pipelines that he said he was going to end under the Trump administration. He continued to say mandatory minimums that he said he was going to end under the Trump administration. He's expanding the military-industrial complex just like he said under Trump. We still have a homelessness crisis. He's not covering health care. So how can you say he's economically populist? Anyone who's following that or following the lead of the progressive politician who's like, hey, you know what, Joe Biden's not bad as I thought he was, because he retweeted us because they said they listened to us. So this is why it's a problem. I'll pass it to CJ so you can pass it on. I went on long enough, but that's just one problem within a problem that explains why celebrity worship of politicians is a bad idea, because it makes people believe these important issues that I just brought up earlier is not a big deal, and it is a big deal. It will always be a big deal, and don't let progressive politicians convince you that stuff like foreign policy, criminal justice, and economic justice isn't a big deal and isn't cancel worthy. I think it is. Go ahead, CJ.
I just feel like I just don't understand, when did it become a thing to praise politicians? I don't understand when that became a thing. Like, they are employees. Why are you praising them for the job that they do? Like, you don't do that in any other facet of your life. You don't praise people at the supermarket like you do over there. You don't tweet about the person checking you out at the grocery store. Like, I don't understand why that's a thing. I'm talking about good or bad. They do something good. Like, I mean, I guess you can shout them out, but it's an indication. It's telling. It's illustrating how deprived our electorate is of actually good policy and good candidates, that when the little bit of thing they do is slightly good, we have to praise them and shout for joy. It's because we are being deprived of a good government or a functioning government. But my next question to the panel would be, what does it say about the actual person that's doing the worshiping? What does it say about this person? Now, before I bring in JB, I'll let him start. I just wanted to Sky Daddy's point about authoritarian. It's funny how leftists who stand AOC and Bernie Sanders, for example, they don't understand that that's authoritarian. Exactly. You're just on the other end. Just because you're on the other end doesn't make it not authoritarian. Like, they don't get that. Your worship of any person that can breathe air just like you, that's what makes it that.
Yeah,
that's what makes it that. Go ahead.
I'm kind of confused with the whole political map and how people refer to it. Because honestly, a lot of people refer to going further left. It really is going further down. You can be a liberal and authoritarian and be a far left liberal authoritarian, because left doesn't dictate if you're authoritarian or not. It dictates what you want to be authoritative about. So that's why the whole political process is crazy to me, because leftists are by definition the anti-authoritarians of the left, like trying to exist of praising authoritarians who make legislations, which, take away our rights, which would be, they're authoritarian, to me is in direct conflict with saying you're an anti-authoritarian. And if you're a left-leaning anti-authoritarian, you're a leftist. So it's all just, to me, if people were kind of focused on the left or right, but at the end of the day, it needs to be also a big thing about going down, being authoritarians, anti-authoritarians as well.
Absolutely. And JB, let's bring you in this conversation. What are your thoughts on any and all of that, whatever you want to comment on that?
I think the deification, especially of Bernie Sanders, has been a result of so many of us, even if we were campaigning for, or we were just talking to family members about Bernie Sanders, we had to talk about all the great, wonderful things about Bernie Sanders during the campaign. So with doing that, it also kind of put in our minds kind of a mode, an easy way to deify him. So therefore, every single time we talked about him, we realized there was a lot of great things about him. And there were, and there still are. But at the same time, it also left us open to also kind of have a little bit of a hero worship of him. And so now for some of us, since that door was open, it made it so that a lot of people they're pushing their to them, Bernie can't do no wrong.
Right.
Or it would basically take Bernie Sanders kicking a puppy or a kitten in order for them to look at Bernie and go, "Oh no, he's terrible."
I disagree. They would say that
they probably still going.
They would say that was a GOP puppy, and it deserved to be kicked.
Yep.
It was, yeah. It probably was
Bernie.
metaphor for all. But my thing is that they do this, and yet they don't see the parallels between them and an Obama stand, or them and a Hillary stand.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you need to look yourself in the mirror. I, in a sense, was a bit of a Bernie stan myself at one time. I'm going to admit that. Okay, I was a Nina stan. I was a total Nina stan. But after I started seeing things and I started looking at things from an objective point of view and started looking at it and going, I don't like what she said about this, and I don't like the way she did that, or I don't like what he did. Then it's like, should I? And this is one of the reasons why I kept my mouth shut about Nina Turner running. I have not talked about her running. The reason being is because everything you say and do, especially on the campaign trail, doesn't mean shit to me until you're in office and you start actually doing stuff. That's when I start seeing things. And even then, I'm not going to stand you, and I shouldn't stand you. And I'm not going to give you your flowers until after you retire. And then once you retire, then maybe, just maybe, I'll give you your flowers for all the good stuff you did. But guess what? Here's the thing. You cannot expect a politician to lead movements because a politician has never done so. Martin Luther King Jr. was not a politician. Fannie Lou Hamer was not a politician. W.E.B. Du Bois was not a politician. All these people, Fred Hampton was not a politician. And the thing is, these movement leaders were people who saw that politicians are only really the means to an end. And to that end is to improve the material conditions of everyone. So therefore, to stand a politician means you're standing the middleman. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason that we should be standing middlemen. Bernie Sanders is a middleman. AOC is a middleman. That's all they are. So the thing is that if we are going to sit here and try to stand them, you are wrong. I'm going to say to your face, you are wrong. Because the thing is that you are basically damaging not only yourself, but you're damaging the left.
Yeah, I used to be a big fan of Bernie Sanders, but the one person I would say I would stand that I absolutely don't now, for anyone who follow my tweets and my show will know. Not saying I hate her, but it's just I'm not anywhere near a stand. Is Ilhan Omar? I mean, I even before I changed my my profile picture, because before my Twitter even blew up, I remember I just had a profile picture of Ilhan Omar. I had like 400 followers, and I changed my picture to my real picture, and everyone was like, "What? This dude's black?" And then I guess that's when people start learning who I was. But that's my Twitter origin story. I had Ilhan Omar profile picture. So why did I bring her up? Because I was shuffling through some stuff here while you guys were discussing. This is why you shouldn't stand politician, because everyone was mocking AOC for calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear. This is from 4 hours ago. The Business Insider. I'm breaking this to you guys. Ilhan Omar shares details about her warm relationship with Auntie Nancy Pelosi. Ew, what? What? Are you serious? Like, I just saw this just now.
Some more squad members in. Let's go ahead and vote those people in.
Are you serious? So, for one, I'm gonna pass it to Rome. I think Rome has something to say here. So, two things here. I'll pass it right.
I'm about to say this is why they're the reason why I'm not doing anything for Nina. Like, I can't even vote for her any fucking way, but I was gonna go out there and canvass for her and shit like that. And I did endorse her, but I guess I took my endorsement back when I was like, yeah, fuck that. When I seen how she was like, oh, I'm running to be a squad member, I'm just seeing what the squad do, and I'm like, yeah, fuck that. And yeah, like y'all saying, all these people just hero worship, even my girl, she donates to Nina. I'm like, man, but now I don't know what the fuck her problem is with her relationship with her and Nina. But yeah, she need to stop it. She need to break up with her because it's not healthy. And even if she does win, we got another Democrat in now. 999 more to go. Man, get the fuck out of here. I do more. Yeah. I get more done on the ground, actually helping people. Like, man, fuck all that. That's why I'm like, they're like, oh well, you're not gonna vote. You shouldn't tell people don't vote. That does you know what I'm saying? That causes damage. It only give Republicans. Power. I'm like, well, why don't the Democrats do their job when they have the power? So you won't have a guy like me where a handful of people listening to him, they might can pass out the word to another person, and tell you, hey, don't vote because it's bullshit. Listen to what this guy has said. If they just did wrong, I wouldn't be out here doing that. So hey, do your fucking job, and I won't tell people voting doesn't work. And don't tell me, oh, well, we need 200 more progressives. No, the fuck you don't. All y'all got to do is dogpile one fucking old dude. And y'all won't even do that. Y'all won't even get on Joe. Two fucking Joes. That's all y'all got to do is dog pound their ass. And actually, it doesn't even work like that. The president got to sign the bill, so they can jump on the first Joe before it gets to the second Joe. But they ain't gonna do that because the political theater just isn't good when one party is on the whole stage. They gotta make room for everybody.
Yeah, and
Go
just
ahead, RJ.
just for people who don't know this, but when Ilhan Omar was running for re-election to Congress, Nancy Pelosi endorsed her. So it really didn't surprise me at all, and she accepted the endorsement.
What
And I
did she
want
just say? Sorry, RJ. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll share after that. Go ahead, RJ.
to
What?
okay, and I was gonna say too that in terms of hero worship, I'm not, I'm not innocent. I've basically been everyone's stan. I've been honest from the jump about that. I've been a Beto stan. I've been a Mayor Pete stan. I've been a Liz Warren stan. Every stan in the book. And what I've learned is that politicians in general will only take you as far as they want to go, and what's best for their political career, not what's best for the movement. So the best thing you can do is look out for your fellow man, fellow community in order to get things done. Because in the end, a politician is only going to look out for themselves, and for your people, be damned. That's kind of what I've learned.
So sorry, RJ. I was just reacting in a visceral way because I was just looking through the interview. Once again, I literally just saw this because everyone's tweeting about it just now while we live because this came out today. I think it ties to what we're talking about. That's why I brought it up because we were just talking about how these sheep herders lead us back to the right, and I mentioned how somehow healthcare is not a big deal no more. What and I remember I was a stand of Justice Democrat because I remember how it started. Because the whole thing with Justice Democrat before any other policy was anti-corruption. So check this out, and I was like, "What?" I'm looking at the details of this article. It said Pelosi would check in on Ilhan Omar so regularly that Omar A said she would joke that Auntie Nancy is calling. What? So she getting close to Nancy Pelosi, and they have a great relationship now. And then they in the article they also describing how they developed this friendship during Ilhan Omar's campaign, and this is horrific because we oppose corporate Democrats because how. So I'm gonna go on a little bit tangent here, and I'll pass it to Sky Daddy and CJ because we dislike corporate Democrats because they get bought up by Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi has a lot of power because she's a great fundraiser. So if you're a corporate Democrat who don't have the grassroots fundraising ability that LC, Bernie Sanders, and Squad have, you get bought off by Pelosi. This is why everyone in the Democratic Party is loyal to her because what she does, she go to them and say, "Hey, yo, I got the Wall Street connects, I got the military-industrial complex connects, I got all these business connects. So if you want to win your re-election, I can fund you." And then they get their loyalty to Pelosi because of that. So what Pelosi did, because they know that she couldn't co-opt the progressive, apparently using money. She just did a simple trick. She used her humanity. Ilhan Omar is being such an idiot that Nancy Pelosi and her aides like, "Hey, yo, let's be nice to Ilhan. Let's say nice things to Ilhan Omar, and then that's how we win her over." And that's what just happened here. Because as I mentioned, Justice Democrat started out because we was anti-corruption. So now this is a person who there was just a story that came out. This is just more of the same of the insider trading of Nancy Pelosi. How they now buying up stock from Microsoft because she had insider knowledge that Microsoft was getting a contract for the Pentagon. Like this is giant levels of corruption. This is how Nancy Pelosi and her husband was able to get massively rich while in public service. And now there's a story that also broke today how we want to do a reform in the Supreme Court. Everyone was talking about the Supreme Court. Oh, it's such a big deal to oppose the right wing Supreme Court. Now Nancy Pelosi came out in favor of the right wing in stopping of expanding the Supreme Court.
I want to
So
comment on this though.
yeah, I'll pass it to you, RJ. I'm going one more second. So all the people who said that we should vote for Nancy Pelosi because the Supreme Court, I'm sorry, vote for if they said that we should vote for Nancy Pelosi, all the progressives should. You guys look like idiots now. And why do you guys not care about the issues no more? Because Ilhan, progressives, and the squad are sheep herding them into not caring about these simple corruption issues. Sorry, go ahead, RJ. And then I want to get our guest Skydad in here as well. But go ahead, RJ.
Okay, so here's what happened, which I did research on. So Jerry Nadler, he's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. He was going to put the bill on the floor that already passed inside the committee to basically expand the Supreme Court from 9 to 13, right? Also on that committee is freshman Congressman Mondaire Jones. He's a part of the Squad 2.0 as well. So he was pushing it with Jerry Nadler. And it passed in the committee. I don't know what the score was, but it was pretty partisan because no Republicans are going to vote for that, obviously. And so Jerry Nadler wanted to put it on the floor. But Nancy Pelosi, she killed it. So she's not allowing it to be put on the floor. So that goes back to of what I've been saying for the last couple of weeks. Is like, okay, you as really a progressive trying to go up the ladder, which is basically a ranking system to even get to a committee chairmanship. Why even go through that if the speaker and the party leaders have all this power to shut it down anyway? So that's kind of what happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I didn't want to derail the topic too much, but I thought that was pretty relevant in discussing hero worship because we were just talking about foreign politicians withstanding. Ilhan was someone else I had a lot of respect. I used to have a lot of respect for, but moves like this is why I can't like. Once again, you're not gonna see me say anything nice about these people now. Do you? I won't bring my guest in. You got anything you want to add to Sky Day before we talk about CJ?
Yeah. I have just some questions for you guys. Can you guys name any politician, past, present, or future, where you can look at their career and be like, you know what, this person made good, consistent like change to where I can look back at their voting record? Because for me, I can't find it. I can't ever find the political system working for the working class at all. I've never. Also, Bernie. I always had a question about Bernie. I've never gotten kind of like he's always been pro police. Like he's always been pro fund the police. He voted for the '94 crime bill. I hate fucking Bernie the most. Because he's so good at it. Like he really is. If you look at his past records of voting, like this man's always been pro police. Like from the beginning, from that '94 mass incarceration atrocity that he did. So I really, I just don't. And even when they do put good things out about politicians, again, it's always to me just propaganda. It's always going to turn. It never get nothing ever happens. And even if there was one good politician, that motherfucker's going to get JFK. You know, like, that's what they do to people who become problems. They take care of them. So if there's any politician that you guys know where you're like, this was a decent congressman, I just want to look into it or whatever. And I just thank you guys for having me on. I'm just enjoying myself.
I want to ask Sky Daddy a question actually, because you you had a great comment that I liked, and it's kind of like eclipses what's happening right now on the left. Do you believe like Bernie and progressives are figuring the fuck out that we are pissed at their failed strategies and with them overall and how they're going after the establishment, and they're kind of like siding with them to fight against us? Like, do you believe that's what's going on, where like they see that we see through their bullshit, yet they're willingly accepting being used by the establishment against us? Because I feel like that's kind of what's happening too.
Yeah, I think that they don't care. I don't think they ever cared. I honestly am not even mad at them. I kind of think it's like, think about it. If you're working class, you grew up with working class, and rich people, the rich people are trying to take from that. A lot of people are going to be protective of that. It's the same thing with them. I think they have these fake fighting, like AOC in the beginning. Pelosi, she's all about, oh, Pelosi's bad, and now she's riding Pelosi's strap, you know. And it's always like that. They're always saying one thing and doing the other. So no, I don't think they care. I don't think they ever cared. I don't think politicians are stupid. I think they play stupid very well. And again, it's kind of like talking about royals giving a fuck. Why would anyone ever give up their power? Like, it makes no sense. And also, if people are going to give up their power, the people inside aren't going to make it very welcoming. I mean, these people bomb people overseas and millions of people, but they're going to give up that power because, we voted or one senator came along. I don't think they care. I think it's all a show. And I just think it's a distraction and illusion of choice.
This is actually a very, very good segue for the next topic that you talk about, Sky Daddy, and you sort of are articulating what I say. Nothing's going to change without a general strike or some other direct action. Like voting, like if you think voting is going to fix anything, voting is what got us here. Like what value does voting have if the options you have to pick from are all awful? Like, who cares if it's a democracy? You're free to pick from crappy candidates. Like that, it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So that's why
selected.
Exactly, and that's another point. They're pre-select. Don't think that these people are just happenstance winning and all this stuff. These people have been coming up with this stuff for, like, just for example, let's talk about Kamala Harris. They want Kamala Harris to be president, and we didn't like her. Nobody voted for her. Do you think that is going to stop them from installing Kamala Harris?
Nope.
No, it's not. So that's what I'm saying. It's the corrupt system. Thinking we're going to beat corrupt people at their own corrupt system is absurd to me. So let's go into the next topic, which is building a movement. So what are your thoughts? We're kind of already into that topic, but what do you see as what we should do, what people should do, like-minded people like us, in order to create change? Like, what are our options? I'm going to start with JB. What are our options as leftists? What are our options as working class people to fight against the oligarchy, to fight against the ruling class, to push back against this fascism?
You want to know a secret? We're doing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
By putting the ideas out into the ether and by getting people to realize, to wake people up, to educate. What we're doing is we're telling people, okay, what you're seeing is bullshit. And so what we're doing right now is letting people know, hey, they're fooling you. You guys are being run amok, you're being bamboozled, you're being taken for a ride. And so the thing is that by doing that, by taking the logic and rationale along with the policies and saying, okay, these two groups, they're not doing anything for you. The best thing to do is to basically SOS, save ourselves. And that's the only thing we can do. So that's one of the things that we have to do. Now, I would say that a majority or all of us really are in agreement of a general strike, right?
Right.
So with that being said, we're also pushing that idea out, right? We're letting people know, look, general strike, general strike, general strike. And the thing is that next thing you know, mark my words, you're gonna start having the bigger lefties, on BreadTube. They're gonna be the ones to start saying, oh, you know what? I think a general strike is actually the best way to go. Watch, you're gonna see people like, Humanist Report and Kyle Kalinske and all those people. They're gonna start saying such stuff about a general strike as well. And the thing is that next thing you know, you're gonna have, that trending, and it may get popular. But guess what? You're also going to have a huge faction of the authoritarians, the liberal authoritarians, as well as the conservative authoritarians are going to be like, oh no, we have to stop this. And so they're going to try to squash it, just like what Obama tried to do, right before it was, with the NBA
boycotts.
Yeah, with the NBA boycotts. So the thing is that part of this starts with us, having a dialogue so that people can recognize that this is possible. Because look at defund the police. It started by just people talking about it, right? It's the same thing with this. All we have to do is start talking about it and letting people know. And this is one of the reasons why, of course, Facebook tends to be, a lot of people who are either liberal on the right, but I still share anyway. Because the thing is that if we say something that may trigger in somebody's mind and go, wait a minute, this isn't right, something needs to change, then that's another person that we bring over to the left, or at least has an idea that we have to go by a movement change versus an electoral politics change, to make things better. So I mean, just what we're doing right now, I say is valuable.
Okay, and now I'm gonna bring in RJ for his response. Like same question. What can we do? Like when we see that voting is not accomplishing what we wanted to do, we see the duopoly is crushing any good candidates. We see the Democratic Party changing progressives into basically corporate liberals without the corporate donations. So what options do we have, RJ?
Really, just yeah, that's something I struggle with because really electoral politics is my strong suit, but over time I'm learning that's kind of fucking pointless. So really, it's just to keep organizing, really in general. I think grassroots organizing is a good thing. Someone's mentioned too that ranked choice voting. That's something we should be pushing forward too, so we can have the opportunity for someone to have better options, do better. Yeah, I mean, that's basically all we have. More community efforts, especially in the Black community. We have a rich history of helping out our fellow man. Like if someone needs a job, you give them a job. Someone needs clothes, feed them. If they're hungry, that type of thing. So if you just doing better community work and looking out for each other really goes a long way. So that's kind of my recommendation.
Yeah, I wanna talk about that comment from Paul as well, since we're dissing electoral politics as well. I put my position on the record. My position always have been take all our shots. I am on the board of national ranked choice voting. I've been talking about how we should be pushing for ranked choice voting because we don't need politicians to get it done. That was my boy Mitch Randall created this group on, because all the states that got ranked choice voting done, they got through direct ballot initiatives. And there's a lot of ways we can literally bypass veto overrides. There's a lot of good methods that we can do in order to implement ranked choice voting. And I also say this because there are people who have like dreams of grandeur and they're kind of delusional to me. And I guess I was maybe one of those, but I had different expectations when it come to advocating for the Green Party, because we had two of the worst candidates of all time that ran. Two people that are credibly accused of sexual assault, two warmongers, two people who white collar criminals. I mean, the absolute worst of the worst, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And third parties still got less than 1% of the vote. Green Party got like 0.3% of the vote. So if you are advocating for a third party, but you're not advocating for ranked choice voting, talk about a giant waste of your time. Like, Jesus. Like, you really think that we're going to get a third party to be successful without ranked choice voting? So if you're going to put any energy in electoral politics and in any capacity you think is worthwhile, ranked choice voting definitely something to be putting your stock into, because the idea of supporting the two-party duopoly is an absolute joke. And if you think we're going to have a third party that take over with the current voting system that we have right now, that's an even bigger joke. So I know if you guys have negative opinions of electoral politics, but if you are going to engage in it, do direct ballot initiatives. Because in Missouri, we are a red state. We always get bashed for being a red state. But we got medical marijuana. We got Medicaid expansion. We got increased minimum wage because of direct ballot initiatives. And this is something you can get done without worshiping politicians. This is something that you can get done without spending a ton of money donating to campaigns. So that's why I tell people to do. But at the end of the day, like RJ said, community is good too. Whatever it takes to improve your quality of life, because not acting in a way that increases your family and your livelihood, it's a complete waste of time to me. Like, so you got to do something, even if whether it be direct action, whether you want to follow the deadline of electoral politics, whatever. But if you're gonna do it, be smart about it. Support direct ballot initiatives, ranked choice voting, and so on. So that's kind of my reaction to that comment and the question in general. What RJ was saying, I'll pass it back to RJ. Also, I'm kind of like a Skydive if you want to wrap up as well.
RJ, you want to go first?
Oh no, you can go ahead.
I'll try and summarize it as much as possible. I'm definitely not for electoral politics at all, or any sorts. I feel like anything is putting a band-aid. I mean, we can't get shit done. It's so trying to change the whole voting system and the bullshit that would take to try and get the politicians to stand by and all that stuff. Anything through them, it's just a death trap to me. I think what Rome's doing is great, the local effort. I think literally taking that little effort and just expanding it. I think one, defining leaders. For one, getting on the same page for one. I put out a tweet and I was pretty much saying that if you're anti-medical tyranny, you're anti-imperialist, because Nick was saying how so many leftists, especially the ones who talk shit about us, they don't give a fuck about foreign policy. They don't give a fuck about imperialism. If it's not happening in America, they do not care. Like, I have a hard time like saying I'm a leftist when people like that are the majority of leftists. They really are.
Yes.
Anti-authoritarians. Like I put a tweet out and I said, if you're that type of person, I'm doing something right now. If you're that type of person, then you are in the minority. And then I had a whole bunch of people. I had a whole bunch of people under it saying, "What's this platform called?" I'm down with that. White, black. Like I understand. Like, what is this called? Because they also have the same experience to where they aren't finding people who represent that. So one, getting a good 3 values that we hold dear, and then opening that up to people. Kind of almost. It sounds. I'm so for unity, but I'm also for division.
Yep.
Like getting people who are praising that, people who don't care about imperialism, people who don't seem to care about care about performative progress for minorities, but not actual progress. The people who actually care, I'm all for that. I hate the performative shit, and then they'll vote for the motherfucker who made the 94 crime bill. That drives me crazy. So kind of setting ourselves apart from those people and rebranding what we're trying to do, then defining leaders, and then putting those leaders up. The same way that regular politics works, I think that can be used in an authentic way to actually help. They have all these different characters. You don't like AOC, like Bernie. You like Burry, you like Mira, which is weird that people like Mira or Pelosi or any of these people, but there are people who like Hillary and that shit and Kamala. And they have all these different characters, but really they're all pushing the same agenda. And in that way, their net is wide, but all the same things get done. And that can be done in an authentic way to actually help the working class. It's just being used to manipulate. So I definitely think organization, local effort, and a general strike, as Jay has been saying a lot, is the most important thing that we can do. And I think politics and electoral politics is a huge distraction for that.
I just want to piggyback off of what you said real quick, and then I'll pass it back to CJ. I like one of the reasons why I like your content and what you put out there, Sky Daddy, because you actually talk about U.S. imperialism. And I tell people that if you're a black leftist or a black progressive, black liberal, whatever you want to call yourself, and if you don't talk about U.S. imperialism, you're missing a giant part of the puzzle, and you're not being serious about this. So the reason why I bring it up, because you said there are people that don't talk about foreign policy, the people who don't bring it up at all. There are people more likely to engage in electoral politics. And what I just said, I tweeted this out before. Electoral politics is trash because you can't use electoral politics to vote out U.S. imperialism.
Exactly.
That's why people who don't talk about U.S. imperialism are more likely to be like, to lecture people for not engaging in electoral politics. How can I'm gonna end it with this, and this is more of a rhetorical question. How do we vote out U.S. imperialism? Has that ever been successful?
No.
How do we end it? How do we vote the end of the genocide in Yemen? How do we vote to end the military bases? How do we vote to end decreasing the military budget? Biden increased the military budget over Donald Trump. He got a larger military budget now. So if this is an issue that you care about, my question to the people who love electoral politics, and once again, I kind of gave it just a side endorsement of it, but once again, I don't think the issues are black and white. So if you're one of the people that love electoral politics, and if I care about U.S. imperialism, my question is to you: how do I vote that out? If I can't, then it's trash. And so I'll pass it back to CJ.
You can't vote it out. But what this thing that you just brought up about U.S. imperialism and how a lot of Americans don't really care about it, in particular, that's probably the number one issue I have with the Black community.
Yeah,
it's because we're not really engaged enough in foreign policy and what America is doing. And if we would realize they're doing a lot of the same things they did to us pre 1864. You get what I'm saying? Like, Black people what they're inflicting on other people in other countries, Black and brown people in other countries, are vicious atrocities. And they can be compared to what would happen to us. So I'm saying, like, we can't be on the bandwagon of our own oppressor oppressing other people. And that, to me, is my biggest critique of the Black community and the policies that they care about. Because if you understood what's happening, there's no way you would support the Democrat any party. Just out of respect for our ancestors and what they went through, and how we as a nation are inflicting that on other people right now as we're speaking here. Like, that's the reason why, for me, that's a pet peeve of mine for the Black community. But that's the number one reason I can't support these corporate parties. But my next question about building this coalition. So we're talking about some of the things that we can do outside of electoral politics. And then my next question will be is, who are we doing this with? Are liberals redeemable? Do you see liberals teaming up with us for any sort of fight about anything, any sort of policy fight or policy front, I should say? Do you see us teaming up with liberals? Do you see us teaming up with conservatives on certain things? Like, who do you see as part of this coalition? Because the leftists can't do it by ourselves. Like, we can't do this lifting by ourselves and be successful. So who is part of this coalition? I'm going to start with Nick.
One thing I always like to do, I always like to see public opinion. Read polls for yourself, guys, for the love of God. Mm-hmm. Not allow the corporate media to shift the narrative of a poll because of their headline. This is something I actually learned a long time ago, because I've been covering defund the police obsessively for the last few years, and they've been doing this for the last few weeks, where they're like, oh, new polling, defund the police is massively unpopular. 1 out of 5 Americans don't support the defund the police movement. And then that's a new article. That's an article that came out around February. And then you dive into numbers. It's like they're fudging the fucking numbers. Like, if you ask people, do you support taking money from the police budgets into education, housing, and other economic issues? That phrasing of that question is supported by 55% independents, majority of Democrats, a majority of Black people, and that's why when that article came out, I was tweeting that out, and I would let everyone know, like, yo, this 1 out of 5 number is propaganda. So how they get that 1 out of 5 number? So they asked vaguely, do you support the defund the police movement? They're not a good question. Also, it was heavily skewed toward Republican voters. So we already know who opposed to defund the police. It's majority white people, which are RIP. And then you had the Republican Party, it's like 9 out of 10, like 8 out of 10. These are the bootleggers we're talking about. So they drive the number down. That's why I look at it individually. If you look at it individually, people of color, Black people always been supportive of it in the beginning, and Democrats. So why did I bring it up? I didn't bring that up for no reason. That answers your question. So the reason why I do this is because I like to properly analyze who the enemy is, because there's a lot of propaganda that always goes on. So when you look at the polling, there's about 30% of Democrats that are always wrong on every issue. These are like the people we can't move. These are the Amy Klobuchar supporters, the Pete Buttigieg supporters. These are the people who unironically supported Mike Bloomberg. I bring this up all the time because people forget Mike Bloomberg had like 20% in the polls at one point. Yeah. So that's 1 out of 5 Democrats looked at Mike Bloomberg like, yeah, pretty good candidate. Like, what? So I'm talking about this 25 to 30%. I mean, you can like look at the numbers of amount of Democrats who support raising the minimum wage. Look at the numbers of Democrats who support Medicare for all. This is another thing the media lies about. The media always say that the people who support a public option is more popular than Medicare for all. But once again, don't listen to how they frame the poll. Look at the poll. Everyone who's a Democrat, everyone who's a person of color who supports the public option also supports Medicare for all. It's only like a 1 point difference. It was like 80% public option, 79% Medicare for all. And then the Republicans will fuck number up. And then they were like, oh yeah, see, not popular. This is what they do all the time. So I'm bringing this up because I'm talking about that 20 to 30% right now. Because if you talk to everyday normal people, the average American voter is actually pretty damn progressive. So I define who I'm talking about when I say liberal. When I rip into liberals right now, I want you guys to understand that I'm talking about the Michael Bloomberg supporter, the person who unironically stand Mayor Pete and never changed their mind on that. Cause I know RJ was a supporter of him early on, but the people who still stand him to this day, like so, those people we can't work with. Those people are the people we can. This is the direct answer to your question. There are enemies, and they need to be.
Expand on why. Expand on why. I know you said who.
Yeah,
because expand on why you say that.
This also goes into our discussion we had yesterday, and why I find them to be one of the biggest enemies of the defund the police movement in the Black community. Because look at what conservatives do when they are against defund the police, because they are open about why they're about it. Well, we support fascist police that uphold racial hierarchies, but what Democrats do is more malicious. Yes, more malicious. Because what do? Because they are tweeting about the fascist police state, and they are tweeting about George Floyd. But what is the conclusion that they are making when during these incidents? We gotta fund the police more. The George Floyd Act. There should be people in the streets after the George Floyd Act. Do you guys know the George Floyd Act gave hundreds of millions of dollars to the police departments? So what happened? So did what the liberal class did. The liberal class took the death and the Black exploitation of a Black man and Black trauma, and they used Black trauma to justify giant police budgets. How is that not worse than what the conservatives do? The conservatives flat out say we're for giant police budgets. What Democrats do, they use Black pain, Black suffering to fund the forces of oppression that is responsible for Black death. That is the worst actor in political discourse right now.
And then
I'm not scared of that, I know we're
you're not Black. After that, then they say if you don't vote for me, you're not Black. And then Black people go out and proceed to vote for him. I mean, it's just something so frustrating to me. I don't get it. I don't get why Black people remain so tethered to the Democratic Party.
So I hope that answered your question, because my point was to directly answer the question. That's why we can't work with them, because I gave you just one example. Because I can talk about a lot of different policies angles from that. But I just bring up one. This is why there are enemies on the police, and that's why I defined it earlier. Because I'm not talking about the voters as a whole. And that's the reason why I say left-wing movements are popular, because I don't have to rip the general populace. I'm aiming at the liberals we talk about.
Particular person.
Supporters. But go ahead, CJ.
At a particular group. No, you were good, but we'll go ahead and bring Rome in. So I haven't heard Rome talk much. Rome, same question. Who are leftists? Who are communists, anarchists? Who are we teaming up with? Who are leftists teaming up with in this coalition? Because, like I said, we need more than just leftists in order to bring about some of the change that we want to change. So, are liberals redeemable? Are we teaming up with liberals, conservatives? Who are we teaming up with, Rome?
That's a great question, but I think people are going to more likely do like they always do and follow the leader. The first types of people that the left is going to collide with is going to be the ones on the right. We're going to be, be fighting with the ones that the poor righties, like Trump supporters that stay in shelters and trailer homes type. Because as me being on the ground, these are the type of people I deal with every day. Like, I live in Michigan. This is Trump land for real. So I talk to these people every day, and I tell them, like, look, even with the conversation I had with my Lyft driver, he was a Trump supporter. And I was tying the military industrial complex to, school and, tying big pharma. They don't like big pharma. I tie big pharma to why they don't want you to have Medicare for all and shit like that. But yeah, people are going to follow the leader more likely. But the thing is, the left needs leaders, because just looking up to one person or, following this one person movement can be damaging, because this motherfucker just go off the haywire and just say, hey, fuck all y'all, I'm taking all this money, I'm doing this and that. We got to make sure that, first of all, we got to make sure we build an organization, like what I'm doing right now. I don't know what's taking me so long. I'm just fucking lazy. And I got to do a lot of paperwork and a lot of reading and math. But anyways, I want to build an organization to start bailing people out of debt. Once I bail people out of debt, they're gonna want to join. They're gonna want to be. Who don't want to be a part of that type of organization? You bail people out of debt. You know, you cleaning up your neighborhood, shit like that. I can send people out. Make sure that is nationwide, so we can send people out to this neighborhood, that neighborhood. You know, pay people rent for that month, or at least give them $50, get them on programs and shit like that. We can really help people. There's so many people out here that can do so many things, and if we focus, if our main goal is to change everything and just say fuck electoral politics and just do all the shit by ourselves, we can do it by ourselves. We just need a strong organization that's not gonna flip over to electoral politics and send our money, funnel our money over to, even if it is progressive Democrats, they still are funneling poor people's money to Democrats. So this is what my organization personally is going to be about. So if I'm raking in millions of dollars, I'm throwing out millions of dollars. I'm throwing it right back out to the people who needs it. Okay, so let me know your bills and this and that. We're going to try to get wherever the fuck. I don't know how to do that shit, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have people that know how to do it. But as long as we focus on the people, everybody is going to want to join. And once you build these people out, man, they're gonna have so much freedom to go and protest, go strike, or go get a better fucking job, or had a time to look for a better job because you're not in medical debt, or you still in medical debt, but you have this organization that's paying off $100 or $200 a month for you, your student loan debt for you, so you can hold the little money that you get from your $7 an hour check.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when you say that, $7.25 still astonishes me every time I hear $7.25 as a federal minimum wage. But let's take the same question to JB, or actually, let's go to Sky Daddy. I want to hear what you have to say about the same topic. It's my opinion that the left needs a larger group in order to push or successfully gain any of the changes we want. So I'm asking, who are we going to team up with? Like who can we team up with? Who's on our same page, or who's close enough to our page that we can team up with?
I think again, it would probably be, for me personally, it's anti-authoritarians. Because if people on the right who hate police for their own reason, even if it's not for racial inequality and they don't understand that it is a big problem, they're just like, the police are bad, period. That person is still going after the same goal, and Black people will still stop getting killed if their goal is completed. When it comes to liberals or any authoritarians, it doesn't matter if the liberals understand racial inequality, but their fucking solution is to give the people oppressing Black people more money. It doesn't matter that they understood racial equality, because their solution means means more problems for Black people. So I think people get too caught up on semantics. I totally understand why, but at the end of the day, I care about results and Black men and Black women not being locked up and being killed more so than I care about fighting the fucking culture war. And some people might call that a reductionist, but I guess Malcolm X was a reductionist because he saw through it. And that's why he could get along with the most far-right fucking KKK person, because they agreed that at the end of the day, you stay the fuck over there. I don't want to be around you, because I'm also pro-segregation, not color segregation, but I also believe, who wants to be around racists? You know what I'm saying? I think that racists should be allowed to go be racist over there, and I should be far away from them.
Can I say something about that? Because I get a lot of questions about that. Like, oh, well, you believe in segregation? I'd be like, yeah, if you want to put it that way, in some way, yeah, I do believe in some type of segregation, because Black people don't want to be around other races. Like, overall, you might have, your Black family member that might move to the burbs, but overall, Black people want to be around Black people. White people want to be around white people. And, but if you want, you can. If you are welcome, don't come in gentrified neighborhoods, and we ain't playing none of that bullshit, and shit like that. But this is why we need to start that organization and buy up all this cheap ass property in our cities and our towns. That way, when they want to come and build their houses, and oh yeah, you can build a house right there, but I still own that land.
I want
That's the problem too.
I want to point out something Sky Daddy said before we go too far into the conversation because I think it's brilliant. And her answering the question of who do we team up with, it wasn't liberal, it wasn't an identifier that we most commonly talk about. It was authoritarian versus non-authoritarian. Because if you think what she said is so brilliant, because liberals mouth the words that we agree. Police brutality is bad. But if you're coming from a perspective of authoritarian, you get what I'm saying? How that's not effective. But on the other hand, where you have a conservative who may not think that the police are racist, but he still think that they're fascists, they're coming from a place that's not authoritarian. That is somebody who we would team up with in order to gain the same results. So you don't have to. I'm saying what. So basically, she's basically saying you don't have to team up with the people who have the same reason you have. Team up with the people who have the same results you want to accomplish.
Yeah,
Right.
I want to bring up a tweet that since we got Sky Daddy on the show, I want to bring up a tweet that she said that hit. Because I remember I said something. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was a similar mindset. She said I was an anti-authoritarian before I was a leftist, and I remember I said something very similar because that's what started my political journey, which eventually led me to leftism, to being a socialist and to a lot of political ideologies that I had. But what radicalized me was the Iraq War. So while people ask me why I talk about foreign policy, that what got me. That was the first thing that got me radicalized. I started out radicalized against Republicans because I saw them waging the Iraq War. And then I grew up and put my big boy pants on when I realized Democrats were complicit with it. So, so that's why I love that tweet that you said because you said I was anti-authoritarian before I was leftist. Because that's if you're black and you supported these oppressive forces, what the hell are you doing? like if you're like I don't want to speak for any other community, but if you're black and you got our background, why the hell are you supporting giant fascist authoritarian systems that have been used to subjugate us for the last few centuries, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I absolutely agree. Let's bring in RJ. I cut you off earlier. What were you going to chime in and say, RJ?
I was gonna say to Rome's point. Black people have tried to buy up land and stuff, but there's a thing called eminent domain, in which the government seizes your property and gives it and buys it from you. They say at market value, air quotes, and then run a highway through it. That's kind of what happened in Detroit way back when. I think Rome knows about that. What was their original question?
The original question is basically like who are we going to team up with? I think you kind of addressed it, but who are we going to team up with? Because the left needs like we're not enough to accomplish what we want to accomplish, so we need to have a coalition. That was the initial question, but the last point I made was based off of what Sky Daddy said, which is teaming up with non-authoritarians, not necessarily liberals, for example.
So there's two factions I believe we need to team up with. One, we need to team up with the sheep liberals. Those like some people in my family who are like they want to do well but they don't know how and they're just endlessly simping for Democrats. We need to beat them over the head with a stick and then get them on our side because they're sheep. They're easy to do so. And the freelancers are those who are like the poor white Trump supporters who we agree with in terms of the end goals, but they're so propagandized by the Republican Party. So those are the two we probably have the best success to work with. Liberals in general, they're hard to get in. They're really hard to convert to the left.
Why do you think that, RJ? Why do you think it's so hard to build a coalition with people who claim to believe a lot of the same things we do, but it's easier to build a coalition easier to build a coalition with people who society is saying is supposed to be on our opposite side. Like, why do you think that is?
Well, one, as being an ex-lib, I'm an ex everything, Jesus Christ. But the whole point about this is libs in general, they don't want to accept reality. Having Obama there was nice. Having Nancy Pelosi, the first female speaker, they like symbolism because it makes them think that change has happened. makes them feel good. But when you tell them the truth, it breaks their heart. They get depressed. They don't want to believe what's happening, so they always want to be told what's going on. So they can't make that type of political analysis. That's kind of why it's hard with libs, because once you crush their soul, their brain shuts off. It's kind of similar to conservatives. You tell them what's going on about the dangers of capitalism, they barge at you, say, "What are you doing?" Yeah. And their brain shut off
Almost
too.
like you're stirring up trouble. Like you're a troublemaker stirring up trouble. Like get on out of here, out of these parts. Is basically what they're saying.
Move back to Africa.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I have better success talking to a lot of these Trump supporters, and as I've really gotten older, I didn't realize how many friends I have that were Trump supporters that I didn't know until now, and I'm like, holy crap. So I think in general it depends on what type you're for. Like if it's the angry, loud, and about MAGA, that's gonna take a lot of time. But if it's the one who's like silently MAGA, but it's like, I'm for some of this stuff, actually challenge them on it and ask them, are they truly for it? And then explain the left wing position, because there is a right wing position for some of these issues. We need to tell them the left wing position and why it's better.
Let's bring in JB on that same question, or if you want to comment on any of that has been said thus far, JB.
As all of you know, I live in Florida, and Florida voted for a $15 an hour minimum wage, and they also voted for Trump. So that should tell you that not everything is divided by left and right or conservative and liberal left. It's not all that clear. With that being said, Florida is kind of a pseudo libertarian. Like they kind of say that they're libertarian, even though we got Ron DeSantis. So the people whom we team up with, I agree with Sky Daddy, is the people who are anti-authoritarian. Those same "don't tread on me" people who, Nick tends to eviscerate in a beautiful way, much I might say that you do, my friend. But those same people, you can actually move them to say, you know what? If you're truly about "don't tread on me," put your money where your mouth is. Let's go. Defund the police. Let's go. And then put them on the spot, right? Same thing with people who are those same people who are Republican that claim to be for Medicare for all, that small percentage that are for Medicare for all, put your money where your mouth is. Let's talk about this. Let's move on it. Because here's the thing. Everyone is all about that liberty life. We all are. But the thing is to challenge people to actually pursue it. So, for instance, and this is what Fred Hampton did. He made the Rainbow Coalition. Not everybody was on the exact same side when he created that Rainbow Coalition. But the thing is that he found something that they all had similarities on, and then they started to move on that. And that's when the government actually started to go in, because the authoritarians saw, oh, wait, no, now we got to kill this guy because he's actually bringing people together to change this system that we have built and that actually works. So because of that, this is one of the reasons why it made him so successful. So basically, we just really have to repeat what he did. And so, but the left has to get out of its own way, because if the left can't unite with each other, how can we expect to unite with anybody else? Unfortunately, the left is kind of a factioning right now, because you have some on one side and some on the other. And really, it should be all of us united, trying to coalesce with other groups to at least get some of these other issues, which others would definitely agree with us on, to come with us, at least on this side. And even still, and let me preface this by saying, just because we're uniting with other groups does not mean that we are abandoning our principles.
There you go.
We are continuing to keep our own principles, but at the same time, we're going to have them meet us where we are because they agree with some of the same things. So the thing is that it's not uniting, with them in a sense to throw what we believe away. No, we're still keeping it, but we're saying, okay, you guys are the don't tread on me anti-authoritarians. Okay, meet us here and let's unite on this, and then we'll fight together on this.
Absolutely. I absolutely love that, and that's actually a great segue into one of the questions, which is, yeah, the left movement, or people who call themselves left, progressive, left thinking, left leaning, whatever you describe yourself, does seem pretty fragmented. But it's always been my opinion that the left, the people who are fighting because you have the same end goal, but you don't have the same strategy. It's not really a need to fight. You're just realizing that you're not going to be on the same necessary team, but you're in the same war. You're fighting on the same side. So I look at leftist movement like branches of the military. You're going to have people that's part of the Navy. You're going to have people that's part of the Air Force. You're going to have people part of the Marines, but you're all fighting the same fight. You have different strategies. Some of you by air, some of you by water, some of you, undercover or covert. But you're fighting the same goal, and that's when it comes to a coalition. I don't understand why the left does not operate that way. So, for example, Benjamin Dixon, Sam Peter, the Majority Report, for example, people like that. So I'm not saying necessarily them, but people like that who want to do the inside-outside game, believe the Democratic Party is salvageable, but they also believe in Medicare for all. They also want a Green New Deal. They also want these things. So what I'm saying is, why can't it be that the Sam Cedars, the Ben Dixons are just part of the Navy? They're just not with us on the Air Force. They're part of the Navy. Let them work their own path to the same goal that we're trying to work.
Why they gotta be in the Navy though?
I'm just saying because they're the weakest. You know why I said that?
About to get your ass canceled today.
You know why I said that, but you get what I'm saying. So
yeah, I know what you're saying.
I'll let Nick start since he's talking now. What do you see that as a viable way forward, that we team up in that way? Everybody have their own lane. Like, I'm not trying to get in your liberal lane.
Yeah, I don't. That's why I don't understand people who's like always tweet out at me like, bro, I don't know you. Like, why you worry about what I'm tweeting about? It never made any sense to me. My main thing is like, bro, I'll leave you alone. Even if you're doing your live switch, even if you people support Medicare for all, like that's fine for me. Even though you're a little bit of a shit lib, but the main thing is we are surrounded by deeply unserious people because you had a lot of people who are mostly part of the Ben Dixon. Sam Cedar side of the left, where they want to shut down anyone who want to work with anyone who they deem problematic. They were like, "Oh, so you want to work with the Boogaloo Boys? You want to work with the Proud Boys?" And I'm like, and then people got mad at me because I was like, "Bro, I said my position on this. Well, I accept help if you want to help me out on my conditions." And I think that's a very tame position. I said that, and in the same the tribal left, I like to call them the Cedar, Ben Dixon, unserious left. They say, "Oh, well, you want to work with right wingers." I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? What do you mean by work?" And I'm gonna explain here very soon why they're not serious. Because in what actual reality, in terms of activism, in terms of actually getting stuff done, are you concerned about? Do you think I'm actually gonna sign up and be a Boogaloo Boy? Are you being fucking stupid? So when I say I want to accept their help, this is the scenario I lay out to them. Because I just laid out direct ballot initiatives and how you can get stuff done with direct ballot initiatives. Let's say, for a hypothetical, you need 1,000 votes in order to expand Medicaid. If you expand Medicaid, you can save people in my family's life. I got a lot of older relatives who would love expansion on Medicaid. My grandma would benefit greatly, greatly for expanding Medicaid. So you need 1,000 votes to get that done. You have 970 votes, and you expanded all of the resources that you know in your circle. Now, there are some members that are Proud Boys or far right wingers who they need to expand Medicaid as well. And they got 40 people. Do you accept those signatures in order to expand Medicaid, or do you shut them down because, oh, we can't work with them? Do you understand why they're serious now? Because those same people be like, no, I won't accept their signature. So you're saying that you don't want to expand Medicaid. You want to accept their help to do that. So I wanted to frame this in a realistic scenario because I want people to understand what they're actually saying when they say stupid stuff like that. And when they get mad at me,
What about civil rights? What about
Yeah.
civil rights?
Yeah.
Like who do you think we
I mean,
team up with to get
it's the
civil
same
rights?
shit. It's all the same
so
shit. Like,
absurd.
dude, even I worked with these people. I work with every fucking body. I don't give a fuck because you know what? I carry my gun. I got great aim, and I don't give a fuck about none of y'all. Like everybody, like this one dude saying, "Well, I don't trust them. I just don't trust them around," you know. And I'm like, "What the fuck you afraid of? You ain't got a gun? Like, shoot them. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck is you actually doing? If they, do you think they about to come out here? You actually think they about to come out here in the black community and shoot up the fucking playground? Is you all right? Maybe one or two, maybe a school shooter. You thinking like that? But that's some I want to say the R word, but they be having me fucked up. They be having me fucked up. But I'm gonna just say this. You know, like I said yesterday, they are like Nick was saying, they are not serious. They are not willing to actually reach across different communities. They are not going to be able to get anything done. They want to feel good for things that they do, even though they don't fucking do anything, you know. And then when you get out here, they say, hey, don't move like that. Don't do this. Nigga, what is you doing? Because I can stop right now. What you doing? Because you can just take the baton right now and I'll stop. Oh, no. I was just saying this. Man, shut the fuck up, bro. Y'all niggas don't want to do nothing but mouth off and act like you're doing something. Like, fuck out of here.
So what we want to say is YouTube is that you know, Rome is speaking figuratively. Of course, we're not promoting any violence, YouTube. So go ahead, RJ, if you want to pick that up, sir.
Yeah, what Rome is saying is self-defense. We're not just going to actively shoot people we disagree with. So let's just get that out of the way before we get our first strike. Just want to put that out there. In general,
it wasn't about that. What I was basically saying is, you know, you shouldn't be afraid. You should protect yourself at all costs.
Right.
If you feel afraid, you should do what you have to do. You know, if you are getting, you know, jumped on or somebody is trying to hurt you or your family members, do what you have to do. But that's
self-defense. Yeah, I mean, constitutional right of self-defense is what basically Rome was describing. So let's go to RJ, though, getting back to the question. Let's go to you, sir, for your response to that.
You know, what's crazy, I learned a lot about the left because my Twitter feed has like every single left ideology on there. And this week I've seen 5 fights on my timeline. So I'm like, oh my God. I got the TYT left, I got the Door left, I got the Cedar rights, I got the Valshites. For some weird reason, they keep popping up because people I follow keep bringing up the shit that he and his followers say. So it's so fucking ridiculous. So in general, if you're on the left overall, and there's something you're pushing, know your lane, just fucking stay in it. Quit trying to reach over to somebody else's shit, messing it up, leaving, and complaining about how terrible it is. So if you're a TYT leftist and you hate force the vote or whatever, quit trying to sabotage it, leaving it, and then talk shit about it. Okay, so that's an example. So if there's a project on the left that you're doing that tries to get us to our same accomplished goals of, you know, Medicare for all, right now it's a $25 minimum wage that we're pushing for. So whatever leftist policy you're pushing for, quit jumping in somebody else's lane of strategy, wrecking it, talking shit about it while it doesn't work when you're the one who sabotaged it in the first place. That's the type of stuff I hate because I see it all the time across Twitter. You're literally killing or eating each other. That's what we're doing, and it's really freaking ridiculous. So when I see these like bullshit Twitter fights, it's like, guys, just DM each other, make up, talk about it. Don't put this in the ethos.
Right. It don't make no
Because
sense
it's
to me.
evident that Politico and Axios, all these different bullshit corporate media articles, they write articles about it, smearing us even more. So now when our grandparents, our parents see it, they think we're not serious. So that's what I gotta
Absolutely.
say is stay in your fucking lane and
Get their
do
ass.
what you gotta do.
Absolutely.
Let
Absolutely.
me say one thing, and then I'll pass it right back to CJ. I appreciate everyone for watching. If you are watching, please leave a like as well. That helps us out a ton. And I am excited that we did help hit 1,200 subscribers on YouTube. And once again, I may be a little bit delusional, but my goal is to hit 2,000 by the end of the month. And we put out content every day. Everyone that's watching, enjoying the conversation so far. So I'm confident as long as we get new eyes on the show that we can get more support, but we're not gonna be able to rely on the algorithm to help us out like they helped out podcasters years ago. So the only way we grow if you share it to a friend, like, subscribe, and do all that because that's how we grow. And I want to continue this work, and the only way we can continue this work is by your guys active support because we're not going to be getting support by YouTube. I guarantee you, once this channel get monetized, they're going to demonetize all our videos because they did that to my channel. That I wasn't even that excited when I got monetized because my first monetized video I made on YouTube, they demonetized it immediately because I was talking about white supremacy and the police force. So that's the only reason why I got to ask you guys this stuff because we can't rely on the system that used to prop up the people now in order to be successful. So if you guys enjoying, please like, subscribe. And I do want to say I appreciate everyone who checked out this episode so far. I'm blown back by the response. So thank you guys for watching. Back to CJ.
Yeah, this is by far. I'm looking at the chats. I'm looking at the lot people who joined us live. This is by far the busiest episode. Maybe Sky Daddy has brought us
She
some
moved the needle.
much needed luck here. But we're gonna go ahead and begin to wrap up this episode. Before we do that, I'm gonna go to each person and allow them any last words about the topic, about anything you want to say. Because I feel like we have deeply serious people on this call, like people who really believe in this cause for humanity. So, whatever you want to say, if you want to address some of the topic we went over, if you just want to sort of give a pep talk, whatever you want to do, I'm going to allow you to do that. We're going to start with JB, and then I'll go to Sky Daddy, then RJ. So I just want to, so you know the order. We're going to start with JB, then Sky Daddy, then RJ, and then we'll round it out with the last three of us. So JB, do you have any final words for the audience? Anything you want to say about the topic or anything else?
Okay. I want to thank you all for joining us on Fred Hampton Leftist today. I just want to encourage you all. Leftism just doesn't extend to what we say on Twitter. It just doesn't extend to what we believe. It is also an action. So if you can, when you're on that Uber ride or whether you're around a family member or whether you're just with friends, if something comes up that is relevant to talk about improving their lives, bring up the policy, you know, um, talk about it. And, sometimes our actions also show, you can just be a leftist in rhetoric or are you a leftist in action? And sometimes this may mean, like for instance, I used to be the type of person if somebody was poor and asking me for $1, on the street, I used to think, man, they're going to use that money for drugs. And now I'm the type of person in my mind, I'm like, shit, all drugs should be legal. I'm like, you know what? I give you this. What you do with it is up to you, but I hope that it helps you in some way, shape, or form. And so, now I'm the type of person where I feel solidarity with people who are homeless. I feel solidarity with workers. I try to make sure that anybody who's a worker I treat them with the utmost kindness. If they
Yes.
do well, I try to even tell their management and be like, look, this person was doing an amazing job. Give this person a raise because they don't get enough
Yes.
anyway. So it's leftism in action that we need to pursue. Because the thing is that we can say everything, about being leftist and we can talk about the policies, but are we doing our little small part in our little part of the world to improve it, in any way that we can?
Absolutely, absolutely. Very eloquently spoken. So let's go to our guest host, Sky Daddy. What say you? What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts is just that to touch a little bit on who to unite with, definitely not to be obsessed with labels. I just see it as so detrimental. If there's anything I learn about the joke, which is the LGBTQ movement at this point, is the obsession with labels take away from actual progressive movements. They just ruined all these really important issues because they just got obsessed with discourse. And I just really don't want that to happen here. Again, I'm pro unity, but I'm also pro division. I'm not trying to really unite with people who are trying to make change through giving authorities more power. The only change that I want is to work with people. If they're trying to do it through legislation, it's taking laws away. Because every time they write a new fucking legislation, there's always something in there that takes away from the working class. So I want to start like taking laws away, not making more laws that they can manipulate against us, because that's all they ever fucking do. That's all they ever do. Nothing's ever for our safety. To uplift our leaders, people who are doing local efforts, because I'm going to start doing local efforts as well. Like Rome, thank you for the inspiration. I've always wanted to, but I've been a little lazy. I have a little bit of charitable things going on. I'm a personal trainer and a neuromuscular therapist. So I will do work on people who can't afford it for free. But I want to do bigger things. I really think we should start doing more organizations that are allies, working with each other, definitely promotion and marketing as well. But yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for having me on, and fuck every last politician, even your one guys. Love you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. I mean, I can go with that last line. I mean, I think we all can agree with that. So let's go ahead with the RJ. Any final words, sir?
Really, while we were on stream, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said that the police have released the body cam footage. And remember the notion that the 13-year-old boy that was killed, oh, he had a gun, oh, he was running away, yet they shot him in the chest. Well, the actual video footage showed that when the cops told him to stop and turn around, he stopped and he had his hands up and they shot him in the chest anyway. And he had no gun. So I just want to bring that out for our audience about what actually happened. And just for the scheduling, tomorrow I'll be having Sabby Sabs from the Sabby Sabs Show. Me and Nick will be interviewing her tomorrow on my show at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll also tomorrow be releasing a pre-recording of Steve Cox. He's also running for California's 39th Congressional District. So we'll be having a great discussion about all left-wing policies and make sure I hit him hard on any critiques he may have. So that's all I'm working on.
Absolutely. So let's now go to Rome, then Nick, for your final words. Anything you want to comment on? Anything you want to say? Any pep talk? Anything at all? Rome?
I want to just tell y'all to suck my butt. No, man. I want to subscribe to the fucking Patreon, man. I'm watching y'all, motherfuckers. I see y'all. I see y'all, motherfuckers. Subscribe to the Patreon, bro. But yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm not about to be corny and say we should overcome or we will overcome, shit like that. Nah, I don't think change is gonna happen I don't think I'm gonna see change, but we can push for change. And the best thing to do right now, man, like to stop all this shit. We ain't even gonna stop it. We can slow it down. We can slow it down a lot if we just get our act together, man. Get our act together in different communities. You know what I'm saying? We can be 200 strong in every fucking state, and that's probably good enough to at least get some combat and get our people some backup on the ground for shit like that happened, you know, Chicago or all around America. Shit, been so many shootings I can't even fucking keep count. But if you want to stop it, we got to stop it. You know, can't just tell them no, no, no. They like get the fuck out of here. So when they smack your hand down, you raise your arms up. You know, and like I said on the last show, when they surround our houses, we surround them. You know, but yeah, we ain't going to let this continue. You know, even if I'm not going to see the change in my lifetime, I die happy knowing that people are pushing for better things and not standing on the sidelines waiting for 200 Democrats to do something about police brutality. So get out there, organize, get out there in your community, talk to your people, and let them know that you're on their side. You know, and try to protest if you can. Try to strike. Fuck it. Do the R word if you can. You know, whatever to bring attention, because it's never enough. And fuck this property.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Rome. And we're going to go to Nick. Any last thoughts, Nick?
Just to piggyback what Rome was saying a little bit. What I do on my Twitter page and what I do on my show and what we doing here, we don't sell hope. People, I've seen people get mad at me like, "Oh, you just tweet what you do because you just want to get people outraged for clicks," and I'm like, "Do you guys understand the people that are most successful do the exact opposite? So what's the difference between selling anger and selling hope?" So what other left content creators will say, trust AOC, trust Bernie, trust the squad. As long as we vote, as long as we get together, everything will be great. And subscribe here, donate to me, and then we can get everything working. That's TYT's sign off message. Donate to Rebel headquarters so we can keep putting on pressure so we can make things work. That's not the message I send out. I'll call it how I see it. And just like Rome said, just because our chances of winning is not high, because honestly, I don't see a lot of reason to be optimistic, but I'm built different than other people. Just because there's not a clear win condition, don't mean I won't fight. Because I can't imagine living a life where I'm like just being subjugated and I'm like just taking it. That's why I don't understand people who are not really engaged in politics at all. So you're seeing what's happening in your life. You're seeing people in your family die because they don't have because they have so much medical debt. You're seeing people that you know being killed by the fascist police force. You seeing people that you know who are refugees of other countries because we bombed them. But you're like, oh, nope, it's all right. We can't do anything about it. Right. So just like Rome said, we may not win, but I can't imagine not fighting this shit. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to live a life where I'm just okay with what's going on. That's why we do what we do. And not selling anger, not selling despair. It's just straight up telling you guys how it is, what we can do, but I'm not going to bullshit you guys on our chances to win it. So what keeps me motivated is because I know I can't imagine a reality where I'm not fighting. Because, I mean, being a leftist changed me. Being more progressive changed me. And that piggybacked off of the point that JB made. I love the point where he made when he shifted left, he started treating workers nice. He started treating them better. He started looking at people who ask for money, and instead of judging them for using drugs, he treat them with respect. Because that's kind of what happened to me as well. I'm very nice to workers. Do everything I can to uplift the working class and uplift our communities in my everyday life. And this is how being a leftist can actually change you for the better. Because I'll make sure when I talk to customer service workers, I'll make sure their day is a little bit better. Are these things giant? Are these things gonna change the world? Nah, probably not. But you make someone's day. Make someone's day a little bit easier. And I think functionally being elected, this is what we should be trying to do. And that's the message I should be trying to get across. Even if we're not gonna win this battle against capitalism, even if we don't win this battle against U.S. imperialism, hell, let's start up a socialist commune and make our lives better. This is the kind of stuff that we should be focusing on, and that's why I would end this off. And that's kind of what I continue to do, and why I love tweeting about politics and organizing and getting people like this panel together to discuss these ideas. Because the style, even though I'm a little bit pessimistic, there's still a lot of things we can do, like I just mentioned before. But anyway, once again, thanks guys for watching. Please follow, subscribe, because we do upload daily. We got. I'm still blown away with the quality of guests we have. We got a lot of good shows coming up. So it's important to hit the bell. So we hear about big channels being saying people don't see their videos popping up. So that's why you hit the bell. You can see all the episodes. But go ahead, CJ. That's all I have to say.
Awesome. It's been a great episode. But to sum it up, what I have to say is abolitionists fought slavery not because they thought they can win. They fought it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
You fight because that's what you're supposed to do. When you don't only fight fights that you think you can win, you fight on the side of righteousness, and that's what I would say to anybody who just kind of just succumbs and say, "Hey, I'm just gonna fall in line with the duopoly because I'm tired of fighting." I understand it is exhausting fighting the duopoly, the ruling class, the oligarchy, but you do it because it's the right thing to do. And for some of us, it is just not something we can do. Once you open consciousness, for me, you can't put that back into the can. Like, I can't unsee corruption. I can't unsee the drone papers, the Afghanistan papers. Like, I can't unsee that. So the country may have was founded on white male superiority, white male wealth, and that's essentially what the Constitution was written for: white male wealth. It wasn't written for us or women. It was not. But we have to decide whether or not we are going to be on the side of history of humanity or not. It's as simple a question as that. So you fight imperialism because imperialism is wrong. You fight against racism and police brutality because it's wrong, regardless if you think you're going to win. You fight because it's the thing you should do. And those are the words I'm going to leave everybody with. Again, everybody's thanking you for joining us. We're going to be signing off now. So make sure you join us next week for our next live roundtable. Again, thank you, Sky Daddy, aka Sky. Thank you for joining us today. Jackie will be back next week. So long, everybody.